up, people? Rasati out here in Singapore. And you know what? I just got to say thank you so much once again for joining in to the Night Owl podcast. It serves me as a means of transmuting all of the energy that I actually absorb throughout the day with posts and conversations and movies. A lot of times I have to sit down and listen through some really heroic stories, some examples of life and the hero's journey and how people really have to fight through some very difficult and painful ideas in order to get to this place where they feel good about what they want to do and they don't feel like they have to apologize for wanting something different than what their parents and their family maybe have expected for them. And it's very, very heavy for me sometimes. And I feel like I get a chance to kind of transmute that by using this platform, this podcast, as a means of teaching what it is that I'm learning for myself as I listen to these people. Yes, obviously, I offer a lot of advice and some help and some support. I allow them to kind of unburden themselves completely so that they feel like they can actually sort out the pieces once and for all and look to a new future, a possibility of not having to suffer as much because they're slowly simplifying their life. But even then, as I listen to them, I'm learning things that I can apply in my own life. I'm being reminded of things that I've overcome in my own life and things that I can continue sharing with the rest of the world as well, because honestly, there's just so much to life in general. And I love what I do. Honestly, truly love what I do. Now, I'd like to take a moment to talk to you a little bit about this one aspect of my business that I've totally fallen in love with. I was so afraid to show my face on, any of my posts and stuff like that, unless it was a static picture with a caption underneath. It took me a while to get used to video. And the only reason that I got so used to it is because I started doing it over and over again almost every day. Now, it started off with something simple. I had to go live on Instagram and I invited someone to come along with me. And the idea being that I would interview them on how they got to where they are right now in their lives. And it could have been someone who is a complete, you know, um, genius savant when it comes to, business, or maybe they're really great at baking and they've made a whole livelihood around the fact that they love baking. It could be anything and everything from anywhere around the globe. And I have successfully done, I think, close to 75, almost 100 different interviews of people from around the world, from all corners of the world. I have a vast majority of my interviewees from the United States, of course, because I spent so much time there. But then I also have a lot of clients from China, from Serbia, from South Africa, from Australia, my cousins from Sri Lanka, UK. I think I interviewed Kuruji once. Unfortunately, I lost the video, but he was, I think he was in London at the time. But, all across Europe, in various parts of Asia, and I've been so fortunate that people feel comfortable enough to sit down and talk to me and explain, hey, it wasn't easy. I had to fight through some difficult parts of my own character and then some difficult relationships that were holding me back. And eventually I found my footing, I found my style, I found my, my stride, and I have never looked back since. So those are the kind of stories that I really love to share. And it doesn't matter what level of success you're actually experiencing at the moment. I mean, I have interviewed JJ from the Silently Spoken project, and he has over, I think, like 300,000 followers at the moment. I interviewed Nylea Guerrero. I think I've interviewed her 3 times now, but when I first interviewed her, she wasn't quite at the scale that she is at the moment as an influencer on Instagram for oracle and tarot readings. But right now, she's gotten to this place where she's so proud and so happy and so confident in the things that she's doing, and she's starting to teach and branch out and do more things. And she has, I mean, a couple 100,000 followers as well. I'm so proud of her. And of course, I have lesser known stories, people who are very well known, but they don't have the presence on Instagram like people expect them to have. Chris Brogan is one of them. He has been a wealth of information to teach us about the art of storytelling, the way he does things. Now, he built his business the other way. He did it the old-fashioned way, where he did it in person, in front of people, in front of audiences, on stage, before he actually got onto Instagram and started teaching there online. But even then, the success that he's had, the experiences he's learned from, all that trial and error, that's always a vast wealth of knowledge. Recently, I did Theo Music, and also just even more recently, Steve Cliff, who was able to give us an idea of what the music business is like and how he started maybe 10, 15 years ago, back when the technology wasn't so accommodating and supportive. And so he knows what it takes to build music or make music from scratch with instruments versus, dub machines and samples and, electronic beats and stuff like that. So I love being able to tell these stories, but more importantly, and this is the kicker, more importantly, I really, really get a kick out of hearing from the artist or the business person that I speak to after the interview, and have them relate to me that, A, maybe they have never done this online in an interview style before. B, they have never had an interview quite like a coffee conversation before. But more importantly, C, the fact that they forgot exactly how much muck they pushed through to get to where they are right now. So it's almost like in the storytelling of their journey, they were able to reminisce and appreciate exactly how far they've come, because in the small details of your life on like an everyday basis, you don't get to go back and see where you started versus where you are right now. We get flustered by the little details of how there are hiccups here and people that are, pushing us this way and people who are pulling us that way and people who are not, forthcoming or as full of integrity as they say they are. They don't follow through on promises. They don't show up the way they're supposed to. And you're stuck trying to manage all of that while you maintain a name and a brand for yourself. So when I get to hear people come back on the back end of a conversation, a live interview, that they said that, you know what, it was such fun to talk about where they started versus where they are, all the little stories in between. Now, I know an hour on live IGTV is never going to cover all the things that you've seen and heard, but at least you can hit the big points, the milestones in your career and the major accomplishments along the way that got you the breaks that led to the place that you are at the moment. So those are the things I love being able to help you celebrate. And honestly, anytime I get someone online, I really want them to understand there is no set of questions. I do not prep you with, what am I going to ask you about? I basically let them know, hey, it's going to be very, very casual. It's going to be like a over coffee kind of chat. We're going to sit there for an hour and talk in front of everybody. They may have questions, they may not, but don't worry about that. I will moderate. But in the meantime, you are the expert on your life, and nobody else would have the answers that you have. And that's why I'm asking you. So for them to just open up and let loose and enjoy telling their story, I think is the most beautiful thing in the world. So as much as you guys may actually tune in because of the specific person who actually happens to be on live with me, because of their subject matter, their content, their, niche in business that they're talking about, whatever the case may be, I'm hoping that you get some kind of life advice as well, because as an entrepreneur, as someone who is fighting to live the kind of life that you want to live on your terms, there is a lot of inner character stuff that you have to deal with. You have to let go of some ideas of how to get there and adopt new ones. You have to manage people's expectations, because people always have expectations. You have to manage your time. You have to manage your resources. You have to stop being so afraid to ask for help. You have to stop thinking that you have to do all of this by yourself, because then it becomes like an Everest type of task, right? And it looks almost impossible. But if you have a couple of people that you can depend on, that you can vent to, that you can lean on, that you can ask for advice, asking for advice from the right people, like all these things are really, really important lessons. But more than that, it is your personal journey. The things that caught your interest, the things that caught your curiosity, the things your heart told you to follow and you followed, and the breaks that revealed themselves along the way, because you earned every minute of those triumphs. You learned everything that you could possibly along the way, and you had to change who you were in order to become the person you were meant to be. And I really love that. I really dig that kind of a story, because it's real, it's full of honest, I don't know, confession. I don't know what to call it, but I love it because it almost re-inspires the artists themselves, because they've forgotten exactly how far they came. So for those of you who have ever listened to any of my interviews, and if you haven't, that's not a problem. You're more than welcome to go check them out. If you search Rasath1 on YouTube, you'll find my channel. It's not as brand as it could be. I'm working on that still. But there's over, I think there's over 50 or 60 interviews on one playlist called Live with Rasath 1. And then there's a couple of other playlists that I did for projects of mine. I did a project for the University of South Africa in Cape Town, because I wanted to inspire the youth as they were getting ready to graduate to say, hey, you know what, you may have gotten a degree in this specific field, but don't be upset and don't be disheartened if you end up on a different path altogether. You will end up using what you've learned, no doubt, but it doesn't mean that you've derailed your life or you've wasted time, any of those things. I wanted to inspire people to realize that they may have started in one place, they end up where they're supposed to be, but nothing in between has ever been wasted or lost. I think there are a couple of other playlists with interviews on there as well, but honestly, if you ever want to join in and check it out, let me know. Like I said, you can search for it on YouTube. Just type in Rasath1 and I'll pop up. But if you know of a great story, if you know of somebody who, fought tooth and nail to become the person that they needed to be or wanted to be, let me know. I would love to showcase their story because I love a great, rags to riches, Cinderella story, underdog tale. Even if you started off with a silver spoon in your mouth, but you totally changed along the way and became something you never expected to be, but you're happy now. That's all I really want. I want to showcase those kinds of stories. So like I said, if you have any questions, comments, referrals, even suggestions, drop them in the comments below. I'm happy to take a look. But in the meantime, you guys, don't be disheartened. Any twist and turn along the way is just turning you closer towards your goals. You just got to embrace it. Don't fight as hard because everything is meant to teach you so you can get closer to your dreams. And I really do believe in that. So all the best to you, and I will catch you again soon. Bye.